Hello everyone. Today we are going to explore cell organelles that are common in plant and animal cell. Okay, so let's start. So as we all know, the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of our life. Okay, so let us have a brief introduction. The cell is always present, we know, in eukaryote and prokaryote. Without the cell, it cannot make a body. Right. So in eukaryote, we have a plant, and this is the plant cell. And there's the animal, this is the animal cell. Okay, and in prokaryotes we have bacteria which have bacterial cell. Okay, so in this video we are going to learn about the cells of the eukaryote. Okay, eukaryotic cell organelles will study the cell organelles that are common in plants and animals and that are different in plant and animals. Okay, so first the cell organelles that are common in both plants and animals. Okay, so it can be divided into two, that is membrane bound organelles and other is organelles without membrane. Okay, so first coming to the membrane bound organelles, first we have nucleus. It's the nucleus, you can know. Second is the endoplasmic reticulum. Third, Golgi body. Fourth is mitochondria. Fifth is lysosome. Sixth is peroxisome. And seventh is glyoxysome. Okay, so these are the membrane bound organelles that are present in the eukaryote. Now, coming to the organelles that doesn't have a membrane. Okay, so first is nucleolus. Nucleolus is present inside the nucleus. Okay, this is the spherical part inside the nucleus is nucleolus. Second is ribosomes, and third is cytoskeleton. Okay, so we'll go one by one and we'll study their functions. Okay, now first coming to the nucleus. Now this nucleus was first discovered by Robert Brown in 1831. Okay, now what are the functions of the nucleus? We all know that nucleus is the control center of the cell. Without the nucleus, the cell cannot function at all. Okay, so why? Because it regulates the activity of the cell. It stores the genetic information, contains chromosome, has a membrane structure which is called a nuclear membrane, and this nuclear membrane has pores or channels that allow selective passage of the molecules in and out of the nucleus. Okay, whether it be ions, whether it be proteins, or any other molecules that are required for the cell. So these are the common functions of the nucleus. Now coming to some facts that are related to nucleus. Now typically a cell consists of a single nucleus. Okay, one cell contains one nucleus. However, in certain circumstances, in rare cases, we see that the nucleus divides while the cytoplasm doesn't. Okay, so in the cell division, we have studied about the division of the different organelles during the cell division, and lastly what happens, karyokinesis occurs, the karyokinesis and cytokinesis. Okay, so this cytokinesis here doesn't occur, that means nucleus divides and the cytoplasm doesn't. So what does it results in? It results in the formation of a multinuclear cell, means a cell having multiple nucleus. This formation of the multinuclear cell is called syncytium. Okay, and this syncytium is not observed in all the cells. It is observed only in the skeletal muscle fibers. Okay. Now there are certain cells which are lost, which have an expiry date. Okay, all the cells have an expiry date, but some have a very lower expiry date. Okay, they, by the time they reach the maturation stage, they get lost from the body, they die out. Okay, so these are some of the facts that were related to nucleus. Now coming to endoplasmic reticulum. As you can see in this figure, this is the endoplasmic reticulum. This is the rough endoplasmic reticulum, right? Because the ribosomes are attached. Okay, so moving forward, this was discovered by Keith R. Potter, Albert Claude, and Ernest F. Fulham in 1945. Okay, so this was discovered by three scientists, and Potter, Keith R. Potter, he was the one who termed the coin reticulum. Okay, so reticulum generally means network, so he coined the term endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, in 1953. So Potter, out of the three scientists, Potter coined the term reticulum. Now coming to the basic functions of endoplasmic reticulum. So we know that ER is divided into two, that is RER, rough ER, and smooth ER. Okay. So rough ER, what does it do? It contains a ribosome, obviously. And because it contains a ribosome, it helps in the production of the proteins. It also helps in folding and packaging of the proteins and transport proteins using vesicles. Where does it transport? To the Golgi body, right? So it also helps in the transport protein using vesicles. So the most of the functions occur in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay. The RER is the largest organelle in most eukaryotic cells. Okay. So endoplasmic reticulum is the largest organelle, and inside the endoplasmic reticulum, this RER covers most of the space. Okay. So now coming to the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Since rough endoplasmic reticulum contains the ribosome, smooth doesn't have the ribosome. That is why they are smooth, right? So smooth ER doesn't have ribosome. So since it doesn't have ribosome, one might think that smooth ER doesn't have much of the function to do. But that is not the case. Okay, so smooth ER, it produces lipids, cholesterols, and hormones. Okay, so this is also one of the important functions, because without lipids, hormones, cholesterol, again there will become instability. There will occur instability in the cell, right? So SCR also does function, and it also helps in detoxification. It breaks down the toxin and detoxify the cell. Okay, so these are the common function of the SER. So one should not think that since it doesn't have the ribosome, it doesn't have a function to do. Okay, so these are the two parts of the endoplasmic reticulum, and this makes the endoplasmic reticulum very important part of the cell. Okay, now there's a fact that is related to the ER, that is, it covers the 10% of the cell volumes. Endoplasmic reticulum, it covers 10% of the cell volumes. You can imagine how large it is. And the space that is inside the ER, it is called as lumen. Okay, the lumen. The inside portion of the ER is called lumen, and it covers up to 10% of the cell's volume. Now, coming to our Golgi body. So, this is the Golgi body. This is the figure. And this Golgi body is named after Camillo Golgi. He's an Italian biologist and pathologist who discovered the Golgi body in 1898. Okay, so Camillo Golgi discovered Golgi body. It's given after his name only. So coming to the functions of the Golgi body, it receives vesicles from ER and modifies the proteins. Okay, so ER, since it has the ribosome, it makes the protein and it wraps it in the vesicles and transport it to the Golgi body. Okay, so vesicle acts here as a transporter. Now this Golgi body, what it does, it receives those vesicles from the ER, as I said, and it modifies the protein. Okay, how does it modify? By adding lipids and carbohydrates to the protein wherever necessary. Okay, it also does protein folding and exportation of the protein molecules. It prepares the protein and lipids for use inside the cell as well as outside the cell. So from here, from the Golgi body, it moves inside and outside wherever and in which amount the protein is required by the cell, it decides and it sends the protein accordingly. Okay. Now this Golgi body is a gel-like fluid structure and it is made of simple flat sacs called cisternae. Now these sacs, as you can see in this figure, these are called cisternae. Okay. So this is the function of the Golgi body. These stacked membranes is called cisternae. Okay, it has stacked membranes and these are cisternae. It's a fluid-like structure. It's not rigid. Now coming to mitochondria. Mitochondria, we all are familiar with this figure. So this was discovered in 1857 by Albert von Kolliker. Okay, Albert von Kolliker discovered mitochondria in 1857, where in the voluntary muscles of the insects while studying it. Now, coming to the functions of the mitochondria, we all must be familiar with the term powerhouse. Okay, so mitochondria is generally termed as the powerhouse of the cell. Why? Because they generate most of the energy that is needed for the cell function. Right, so the cell function needs energy, as we all need energy to work. So the cell also needs energy to work, to function. So that is provided by the mitochondria. That is why it is called the powerhouse of the cell. Besides this, it also does cellular respiration. Mitochondria contains its own DNA. The cell contains its DNA in the nucleus. This mitochondria also contains its own DNA. Okay, there's some evolutionary processes there. We'll cover it in our next video. Okay, so earlier it was an independent organelle. Okay, independent part. It was when it was not present in the cell. Okay, so that is why it contains its own DNA. Now, after evolution occurred, okay, it got permanently inside the cell. Okay, so that's a different topic. So for now, it contains its own DNA. Okay, so it stores its energy in small molecules, which is called adenosine triphosphate. That is ATP. In the form of ATP, it stores energy. Now, this mitochondria, it's also in some text, it also referred to as congiosome or sarcosome. Okay, so this mitochondria is also referred to as congiosome or sarcosome in some text. So you should not get confused with it. Now coming to lysosome. Okay, this is a lysosome. This is a small molecule. Now this was discovered by Christian de Duve. Okay, in 1955. Now this Christian de Duve was awarded Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine in 1974 for his discovery of lysosome. Okay. Now all these organelles, this were discovered in different phases of the time, and then we have a total organelle list of the cell. Okay. Now coming to the functions of the ribosome. So lysosome, when it was studied, they found that lysosome is also a very important organelle in the cell. Why? Because it contains digestive enzymes and they help in the cell digestive system. Okay, it's a very important organelle. It's also involved in the repairing of the plasma membrane. If the plasma membrane is getting destroyed or distorted by using some chemicals or antibiotics, okay, so this lysosome, it repairs the plasma membrane to protect, right, to protect the cell organelles, to protect the other cell organelles from getting omitted. Okay, now it destroys the pathogens like WBC. Now generally our immune system is responsible for doing all the defense work, but here the lysosome sometimes it also acts as a WBC, okay, white blood cells. It destroys the pathogens. It also breaks down biological polymers like carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. And it maintains an acidic pH of less than 5.4. Okay. Why? Because it is necessary for the enzyme to function properly in this pH. Okay, so this pH is very important so that the enzymes can function. Enzymes function in the acidic pH only. Okay, so less than 5.4 pH is maintained by this lysosome. Now coming to peroxisome. You can see it's also a small molecule just like lysosome, and this was also discovered by Christian de Duve in 1965. After lysosome was discovered, then this peroxisome was discovered. Okay, now this name peroxisome is derived from their capacity to produce and eliminate hydrogen peroxide. Okay, when he was studying in his lab, he found that it has the capacity to eliminate hydrogen peroxide and also produce it. Okay, so hence the name peroxisome. Okay, so they are comparable to mitochondria and chloroplast. Why? In the sense that they perform division based replication. They can also divide. Okay, but they lack their own genome. Like mitochondria and chloroplast, they have their own genome. Here, they lack their genome. Peroxisome doesn't have their own genome. Okay, but they do the division based replication. Okay, coming to the function. So, function of the peroxisome includes oxidation. Okay, oxidative process like lipid metabolism and catabolism of D amino acids, polyamines, and bile acids. Okay, so it's important for the oxidation process. Now, it also acts as an antioxidant. It scavenges the reactive oxygen species like peroxides, which are produced during the process of oxidation, and they convert it to the hydrogen peroxide. And who helps in this conversion? Peroxidase catalyst. Okay, so scavenger who scavenge the reactive oxygen species, because if you do not scavenge it, if you do not detoxify it, okay, it will cause toxic in our cell, eventually in our body, right? So in plants, this peroxisome that does the photorespiration. Okay, now this peroxisome they also involved in the breakdown of the fatty acids. Okay, so fatty acids are broken down by peroxisome. Now bile acid intermediates and polyamines are also broken down by peroxisome. It helps synthesize plasmalogens. What are plasmalogens? These are ether phospholipids, which are important for the normal function of the lungs and the brains. So it's a very important. Plasmalogens is very important for the lungs and brains. So it helps. Peroxisome helps to synthesize these plasmalogens. It also aids in energy metabolism, provides antiviral protection, and are important for detoxification and recycling, as I said. So peroxisome has a lot of function to do, as we can see, right? So thanks to Christian de Duve, who discovered it in 1965, right? So these are the function of the peroxisome. Now moving to glyoxysome. Okay, so this is the last cell organelle in our membrane-bound organelle list. Now glyoxysome looks somewhat like this. It was discovered by Beavers and Breedenbach in 1961. And coming to the function of glyoxysome, the glyoxysomes are nothing but a type of peroxisome which are more advanced or more specialized, we can say, in order to remember, right? What does it do? It converts the fatty acid to carbohydrate. Okay, converts the fatty acids to carbohydrate. It's present in plant and in fungi also. It is prevalent in germinating seeds in their fat storing tissues. Okay, and it mobilizes lipids during tissue development, senescence, starvation, and tissue culture. Okay, so it mainly functions at the time of senescence, starvation, and tissue culture. Okay, so at that time, their function is at peak. Glyoxysome, this is also involved in glyoxylate cycle and fatty acid oxidation. Okay, so the glyoxylate cycle, it occurs in glycosome, and the fatty acid oxidation, it occurs in the glycosome. Since glycosome is a specialized type of peroxisome, we can say that fatty acid oxidation occurs in peroxisome also. Okay, in some books it's written it occurs in peroxisome. So don't get confused with it. This glycosome is nothing but a specialized peroxisome only. Okay, it has been termed different. So this glycosome there is also involved in glycosylate cycle and fatty acid oxidation. So these are the common functions of glycosome and the last organelle of the membrane bound organelle list. Okay. Now let us start with the organelles that doesn't have a membrane. Okay, so the first was Nucleolus. This is the Nucleolus, you can see, and the spherical structure that is present inside the nucleus is the Nucleolus. Okay, so this was discovered by Felix Fontana in 1774. So Nucleolus was discovered by Felix Fontana. Now there's a fact that Nucleolus was discovered before Nucleus was discovered. Okay. So Nucleolus was discovered in 1774 and Nucleus was discovered in 1831. Right. So Nucleolus was discovered before the nucleus was discovered. Okay, so this is the fact that you should know. Now coming to the function of the nucleolus. Now nucleolus is often referred as the brain of the nucleus. Okay, the brain of the nucleus. Now the spherical structure at the center of the nucleus, as I said, nucleolus is not membrane bound. It produces RNA to make ribosomes. So the main function of the nucleolus is to produce RNA so that it can make ribosomes. Now it assembles and organizes these ribosomes, which makes the rRNA and protein. This ribosomes makes rRNA and proteins. Okay, and what does this nucleolus do? Besides this, it sends the mRNA to ribosomes to make proteins. Okay, it sends the messenger RNA to ribosomes and allows it to make the protein. So these are the functions of the nucleolus, and it is present inside the nucleus. Okay, so some of us we get confused with the nucleolus and nucleus being the same. Okay, but both are not the same. They're different. Nucleolus is present inside the nucleus only. Okay, and it acts as a brain of the nucleus. Okay, so these are the common functions of the nucleolus. Now moving forward to ribosomes. This ribosome was first discovered by George Pallet in 1974. Okay, and he was awarded with Nobel Prize in 1974. Okay, he discovered this before, and he got award with the Nobel Prize. He was awarded with the Nobel Prize in 1974 for his discovery. Now, ribosomes are very important organelle in the cell, as you all know. Okay, so ribosome is responsible for protein synthesis of the cell. Okay, so without protein, the cell cannot function. Okay, since proteins are made of amino acids, and these amino acids also make up the genetic body, genetic material. Okay, so this protein, making of the protein is very important for the cell to function. And who does it? Ribosome. So ribosomes are basically the site where the protein synthesis occurs. Okay, it reads the messenger RNA, it translates its genetic code into amino acids, and this three-dimensional shape of the protein determines its function. Okay, so all this protein related work, protein related functions is occurs in the ribosome only, right? Now coming to the cytoskeleton. This is the cytoskeleton, and this was discovered by Nikolai K. Kolson when in 1903. Okay, in 1903, cytoskeleton was discovered. Now, the cytoskeleton is divided into three types. So, the first is microtubules. This microtubules is the largest of the three fibers that I told. It is made of tubulin and it provides the structural support to the cell. Okay, it works like a skeleton. Okay, so it provides a structural support. And beside this, it also does the transportation. Okay, microtubules, they also do transportation. Now, another fibers is the intermediate fibers. Okay, now this provides mechanical support. Intermediate fibers, what they do, they provide some mechanical support. The microtubules provide the structural support, and intermediate fibers, what they do, they provide mechanical support. And the third one is microfilaments. Now, these microfilaments are the smallest of the three network fibers. Okay, it is made of actin, and the major function is elongation and contraction. It helps in the cell elongation and contraction. Okay, so these fibers, they act like the skeleton, like the backbone of the cell. It helps in support, provides the structural support, mechanical support, and allows the elongation and contraction of the cells as well when required. Okay, so this is the third organelle that doesn't have a membrane. Okay. Now coming to some of the cell organelles that are present only in plants. Okay. So we have three organelles that are present only in plants. First is vacuole. Now the function of the vacuoles is that it stores water and nutrients. It provides structural supports to the plant. Okay. Now vacuole is the largest organelle in the plant. Okay, you should remember this. Now the second organelle is chloroplast. Okay. Now chloroplast is the major site where the photosynthesis occurs. Okay. So the plant does the photosynthesis in the chloroplast only. Why? Because it contains a pigment called chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is a green pigment, and this pigment helps in the production of glucose by doing the photosynthesis. Okay. Now this chloroplast, like mitochondria, have their own genome. Okay, as I have said in the mitochondria section, this chloroplast, they also have their own genome. This mitochondria and chloroplast were earlier known to be separate from this cell. Okay, then after this evolution, they somehow got embedded in the cell and they're continuing thereafter. So this mitochondria and chloroplast, they have their own genome. Okay, and the third is the cell wall. The plants have the cell wall while the animal cell does not have it. Okay, now this cell wall is found only in plant cell and it gives extra layer of protection to the plant cells. Okay, so this animal cell, they have this membrane, whereas this plant cell, they have the cell membrane and they also have the cell wall. So it provides the extra layer of protection to the plants for the survival. Okay, so these were the cell organelles that are common in eukaryotic cell, that is in plants and animals. The bacterial cell organelles will be covered in our next video. Hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and share and subscribe to our channel for more related updates.